Hey guys, it's Vera Wylde, and I am back with more tips for beginning cross-dressers. Now, what we're going to talk about this time is something that most of us probably don't go out of our way to think about too much, and we just sort of make a decision rather hastily, but I think more of us would benefit from a little more time spent in consideration of this, and that's your name. Because as you're developing a persona, whether it's an online persona, a persona in the bedroom, or if you're actually going out in public, you need to know what you want people to call you. So you do have to decide on a feminine name. Now, sort of the easy way to go, and I think a lot of us start this way, is to sort of choose a feminized version of our normal name, our masculine name. So, for instance, Michael would become Michelle. Alex might become Alexis, something along those lines. And that's absolutely fine. Just something to keep in mind before going that road is doing that can kind of blur the lines a little bit between your identities and your personas, and whether or not you want to do that, that's something that's going to be up to you. I know for myself, I like to try and keep things not really separate, but very compartmentalized, and I avoid too much bleeding over of one into the other. So for me, having a feminine name that is distinctly different and bears no resemblance whatsoever to my masculine name, I find useful for me. But some of you, especially those who may feel that they want to make this a very large part of their lives, may want something that does blur the lines a little bit more. But it's just something to keep in mind before sort of going for that option. The other thing is, some of us have a tendency to leap towards, for lack of a better term, hooker names, things like Candy, Trixie, Roxy. And again, there's nothing wrong with choosing these names, but just sort of realize what it is you're getting into. Because regardless of what your actual persona and your appearance is, just using a name like that is going to evoke certain thoughts, certain impressions of what sort of woman you are portraying yourself as. And just sort of keep in mind the kind of baggage that might come with any given name before you start to use it. Now, the other thing is, don't be afraid to change it. I went through probably about 3 or 4 names before I settled on Vera, and I have been very happy, and I've stuck with it for years now. But you probably are going to want to try a few on and sort of see how they work for you. The one thing that I would sort of advise, if you are sort of bouncing around, is until you're really sure of what one you want to stick with, it's probably best to, I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, not avoid coming out with it, but if you're going to start to come out to people and to tell people, about your feminine life, it helps to have settled on your name at that point. Because if you come out to someone and, that you're a crossdresser, or that you have a female persona, or that you're somehow in some other form of transgendered, and you give them the name that you believe you want to use, and then you change that a little bit later, that can sort of have you come off as kind of flaky about the whole thing, and like you don't really know what it is you want or what it is you feel. And when dealing with people and sort of coming out to people, one of the best things is for you to be fairly firm, so that they're not throwing things at you like, well, is it a phase? Is it this? Is it that? So, not being fairly firm on a name at that point is kind of a good thing to do. I'm dwelling a little bit on the coming out. That's actually something that I'll probably address in another blog video, but just put thought into the name. Don't just pick one randomly. Try and find one that maybe has some meaning for you, or one that is completely unlike anything that you would normally go with. But look around, shop it around, try it on. Like clothes, you can try a number of names until you find one that works for you and evokes the persona that you want to have and that you want to portray. And it's okay to change the name. It's okay to change your persona. You may choose a name like Candy or Roxy or Trixie because that's sort of the way you're leaning. But then as you develop your persona, you may tone down certain aspects and want to change the name along with that, and feel free to do that. Just sort of realize the consequences of changing in late in the game. So if you've kind of firmly established a persona, whether it's online or in real life with the people in your lives, changing the name just sort of makes all of this, all of what you're doing, seem kind of superficial, and it can confuse people, to be honest, and it can sort of jar their perception of what it is that you are and what it is that you're doing, which can be a troublesome thing sometimes. So just think about it carefully, try a few different things, and once you have settled on one and it feels right, it really is a wonderful thing. So that's my thoughts on names. Hopefully you found that helpful. Bye.